Tonight on Terror Tales, we invite you to a story that blurs the line between waking life and nightmare. A chilling account of a family whose quiet suburban dream twisted into a relentless nightmare. A tale where the echoes of the dead still linger in every shadow. This is the haunting of the Smurl family. It all began in the 1970s in the quiet, unassuming town of West Pittston, Pennsylvania. Jack and Janet Smurl had just found what they thought was their dream home, a sturdy, two-story duplex perfect for their growing family. The street was lined with maples, the neighbors waved on Sunday afternoons, and everything smelled of fresh-cut grass and possibility. But beneath that picture book charm lay something patient and ravenous, something that had been waiting long before the first brick was set. At first, the house felt welcoming, a place where echoes of laughter bounced off newly painted walls, where the aroma of Janet's cinnamon bread filled every room, and where bedtime stories promised peaceful dreams. But within weeks, the laughter thinned, replaced by uneasy glances down dark hallways and a silence so thick it pressed against the eardrums. Janet noticed pockets of icy air lingering in corners, as though the house were holding its breath. Shadows flickered at the edge of her vision, retreating whenever she turned her head. The disturbances began innocently enough. One evening, a steady scratching rippled through the walls. Too deliberate for mice, too rhythmic for pipes, low murmurs rose from the floorboards, voices just beyond understanding, like a half-remembered nightmare humming at the edge of sleep. Jack brushed it off as the quirks of an old home, but Janet felt the truth in her bones. Someone, or something, was watching them. Soon the children, Karen and Dawn, started waking at 3 a.m., sobbing that a tall shadow stood beside their beds. Their porcelain doll nightlight flickered even when unplugged. Cold fingers seemed to toy with the switches. Janet comforted them with gentle lies. "It's only a dream, sweetheart." With her pulse hammered with dread she dared not voice. One night, while she was alone in the kitchen, Janet heard her name spoken in a voice that wasn't Jack's, whispered directly into her ear. She spun around, empty kitchen. The fluorescent bulb overhead buzzed, then died, plunging her into darkness so complete she could hear her heartbeat echo off the cabinets. An invisible hand, clammy, impossibly strong, brushed the back of her neck. Her breath hitched in her throat. From that moment on, she knew this wasn't imagination, it was infestation. The manifestations escalated without mercy. Doors slammed with a violence that rattled the entire house, as though the hinges themselves howled in protest. Family photos leapt from walls, shattering glass across the carpet like warning shrapnel. The scent of sulfur, sharp, metallic, unmistakable, seeped through the vents. Toys marched across the nursery floor under no visible command, clattering to a halt at the girls' feet while they screamed for their parents. Even Jack, ever the skeptic, could no longer deny reality. He awoke one dawn pinned to the mattress by an unseen weight pressing on his chest, a guttural voice whispering in a language older than English. When it released him, bruises blossomed across his torso in the shape of talons. The Smurls were prisoners in a house that feasted nightly on their terror. In desperation, they turned to the church. A local priest sprinkled holy water in every room, his prayers echoing flatly off plaster. For a few hours, the air lightened, then crashed into a suffocating heaviness that flickered the lights and sent crucifixes spinning on their nails. The priest left pale and shaken, admitting he had never felt such concentrated malice. Rumors spread through the neighborhood. Strange tragedies had scarred the property long ago. A coal miner buried alive under collapsing earth, a jealous lover's murder-suicide in 1912, a child's unmarked grave lost beneath poured foundation. Whether legend or fact, the land seemed thirstier for suffering with each whispered story. In 1986, their final hope arrived. Ed and Lorraine Warren, legendary investigators of the paranormal. The moment Lorraine crossed the threshold, she gasped at an invisible blow. "It's black as pitch," she whispered. eyes clouded by visions of screaming faces suspended in darkness. Ed's instruments spiked wildly. Temperature plunges, electromagnetic surges, disembodied knocks rolling like distant thunder. They set up night vision cameras and cassette recorders. Playback revealed guttural growls layered beneath human speech and a woman sobbing that none in the house had heard. Lorraine knelt in the living room, reciting prayers, when a swarm of flies erupted from an unplugged electrical outlet and vanished just as suddenly. An impossible omen in mid-winter Pennsylvania. Convinced they faced a demonic entity, the Warrens initiated the first exorcism. Latin prayers clashed against an unseen chorus of snarls. Witnesses saw black mist ooze from the walls, twisting into the vague silhouette of something horned before splintering into tendrils that rattled furniture like toys. A crucifix hurled itself across the room, embedding in drywall as if driven by savage hands. Janet collapsed, convulsing, her voice suddenly not her own, spitting blasphemies at the holy relics. That exorcism brought a single night of calm. Then the darkness returned stronger as though mocking their efforts. Over the next months, 3 more rituals were performed. During the second, every light bulb in the house exploded simultaneously, showering the room in shards of glass and sparks of fire. During the third, thick black sludge seeped from beneath the basement door, smelling of rot and despair. When they tried to collect a sample, it dried into ash that blew away before their eyes. Between rites, the Warrens researched the land's bloody ledger. They uncovered court records of colonial-era witch trial, a makeshift gallows that once stood yards from the present foundation, and tales of native curses cast upon settlers who drowned a Lenape healer in the river. Layer upon layer of grief had fused into a single monstrous consciousness. The final exorcism began at midnight during a thunderstorm that hammered the shingles like war drums. Lightning flickered through windows, strobing the living room where the family and investigators knelt in prayer. As Ed invoked the rites, a roar, not wind, not thunder, shook the duplex. The floor buckled, throwing everyone to their knees. A silhouette formed in the chandelier's trembling crystals, towering, skeletal, its eyes hollow wells of night. Lorraine cried out for Archangel Michael's aid. The entity screamed, a sound like metal torn apart, and the temperature plummeted until every breath crystallized midair. Jack, clutching Janet's hand, felt bones freezing beneath skin, but they did not let go. With a final thunderclap that shattered the front window, the form exploded into a cyclone of soot, whirling upward and through the ceiling. The wind died. Silence, pure, almost holy, settled like first snow. The Smurls sobbed, not from fear, but from sheer exhausted relief. Sunrise painted the walls gold. For the first time in years, the house smelled of coffee instead of sulfur. Yet they all knew victory came at a price. Each room still held a bruise, a tear in the veil that might one day reopen. The family chose to stay, but every night they left a candle burning in the hallway, both a vigil and a warning. Today, the Smurl haunting stands as one of the most chilling cases in American paranormal history, a testament to the razor-thin boundary between the living and the dead. And if you ever find yourself alone after midnight, when floorboards creak and cold fingers brush your skin, remember the Smurls and know that some houses are never truly empty.